Welcome to Lighting for Profits, presented by Emery Allen, with your host, Ryan Lee, your number one source for all things landscape lighting. From lighting design, install, sales, and marketing, we discuss everything you need to know to start and grow a successful landscape lighting business.
What is up, y'all? Hope you're having a good day. It's Tuesday, which means it's time for Lighting for Profits here on Turf Stop Radio. If you want to start, grow, or just talk about landscape lighting, then you're definitely in the right place. So stick around. That's what we're going to do today. And we're going to have, I think it's going to be an awesome show because I just saw backstage our guests show up. So I'm excited.
Backstage.
You know, in this day and age, it's backstage. And currently we are still the number one landscape lighting show in the world. So welcome, everybody. And you can either, I guess spend the next hour of your life just trying to put out fires and figure out how to run your business, or you can just join us here so we can work on your business together and get you to the next stage of growth in your business. So I appreciate you guys being here. Appreciate your support. And honestly, I really am super grateful because this is not a thing without you and your listening, watching, downloading, everything that you're doing to support us. So thank you so much. Today, we're going to have a guest, Jason Geiman, who is the king of pressure washing and Christmas lights help. So why are we having a pressure washer on Lighting for Profits? I don't know. It sounded like a good idea at the time, but now I'm like, what are we doing?
Well, we'll find out. We'll find out by the end of this thing if it was a good call.
No, I'm super excited to have Jason on. I recently met him, and he's got a ton of value that he's going to add to this show. Even though he's not the Mr. Landscape Lighting aficionado, he's got a lot of business experience and a lot of strategies and tips and things like that he teaches to his audience. So I'm excited to have him on. And want to welcome back Mr. Steve Perkins. Thanks for being here, Steve.
Thanks for having me, Ryan. I came back. That's a good thing, right? We talked about it last time if we were going to do this again, and here we are. So happy to be back. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. I think people were like thinking that either you quit or I fired you because there's a little hiatus there.
It was a week. You went to Kentucky, right?
That's right.
Okay, how did that go? What show was it? How did it go?
I mean, the show was amazing.
Okay.
Like the GIE, it was a big landscape expo. It was awesome. I'll be definitely going next year. Met a lot of cool contacts and stuff like that. But in terms of this show, at that show was a shit show. Okay. It was bad. I was like, I just want to be home. I just want to be back in Orem, Utah. It was uncomfortable.
Why was it uncomfortable?
Because every time I try to do like a road show,
yeah,
it just doesn't work. Technology and me do not get along. It sucked.
Gotcha. I was in your neck of the woods last week.
Where's my neck of the woods?
Texas.
Oh, that neck of the woods.
So I
really?
Yeah, I drove from. I sent you a picture. I drove from Dallas, Texas to. Houston to Dallas, and everyone said we had to stop at Buc-ee's. For those that don't know, explain Buc-ee's.
Well, was that your first time?
Yeah, first time.
Really?
Yeah.
You should have documented more of it. Buc-ee's, what's weird is like they're known for really clean bathrooms.
They were. It was like Cabela's meets Walmart meets truck stop.
Totally.
It was the most Texas thing I've ever done in my life.
It is an experience. In fact, my wife liked Buc-ee's so much. She would be like, I'm like, where are you going? Oh, I'm going to meet my friend at Buc-ee's. Like, apparently, you go hang out at the gas station there and stuff. So
it was wild. Although I have a quick story I'll share with you because this is your thing.
Yeah.
Went into the Buc-ee's for the first time. It's this huge thing. Never heard about it. Someone said we had to stop, so we stopped. And I saw there was a girl there handing out samples. She was an employee. And I walked right up to her. I'm like, hey, don't know anything about Buc-ee's, never been to Buc-ee's. Like, what's like the one thing I have to buy? And she's like, man, I don't know. Like, no answer. Did not give me one single thing. And it had me actually made me think of this podcast and kind of what we talked about. Like, have you had employees? Is there I just felt at the time I was like, man, she just wasn't properly trained. Like it would have been an easy sell. She could have pointed to like a t-shirt or a rack of ribs and I'd have been like, all right, guess what, I'm getting that.
Yes.
Did you ever
100%.
how did you manage that with your employees when you had employees? Like, how do you properly train them to make sure they have good answers when those questions are asked?
Gosh, why are you putting me on the spot? This is my show. I'm the one that asks the questions. Okay, stop doing this.
You're so wildly successful. I want to make sure.
We got to change your viewing angle. I want to see more of your face.
No, said no one ever.
What was the question? All right. So when you're training employees like that, I mean, like you said, if she would have just been like, oh, you haven't been here, you have to get our jerky.
Yeah.
And you have to get 2 flavors. I mean, you could have racked up a couple $100 in sales just off that answer alone. So for me, it's about building culture in your business and making sure people understand what it is you do and why it is you do it. So that when those, like, sometimes that's hard to, like, that would be an easy script.
Easy,
like,
yeah.
But sometimes it's not scripted answers, right? Where they're like, if it's an installer installing lighting, they're not technically a salesperson, but they know where you typically put lights. So it's pretty easy to train them on, like, hey, if someone wants to add additional lights, here's what to say, here's why we do it, and stuff like that. So I think it's more just them understanding like what their role is in the business and why you're doing all that.
That's a good answer. Yeah. I think you see it with like, servers at a table, the waitress, waiter, whatever that is. I think if you have a good answer queued up and they're properly trained, like, I think I would think if someone comes to my house, selling lights, I would just want to know, you tell me, you're the expert.
Yeah.
You tell me what I want. To some degree, obviously they can't feel like they're being upsold, but anyways, thought it was interesting.
Yeah. I think, I don't know, like when you're talking about like servers and stuff like that, I love it when I go to a restaurant and they're pre-selling, like they're selling me and I could tell they're good at sales and I love it. I'm like, dude, just take my money.
So nothing's better when a waiter's like, no, don't get that. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Seriously, I'm like, thank you so much. And then if she has a recommendation, like, I'm all in. But yeah, as a consumer, I thought it was helpful. Yeah. Interesting.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, so what was your, I mean, did you like Buc-ee's? Would you go back?
I didn't get the right thing. So yeah.
What'd you get?
I can't remember. There were like these peanut patties.
Who gets peanut patties?
Well, I didn't get a good recommendation. I brought them home to the kids. They like it. I mean, they were terrible. The kids tried them. They were like, this is garbage. They threw it away. So I got the wrong thing. So I'll have to try Buc-ee's again. Sorry for the Buc-ee lovers. Yeah. It seems like it's like a thing. So I don't want to insult anyone.
They've done a good job building their brand. They just haven't done a good job teaching their employees how to help build the brand. All right. What about, did you see beaver nuggets? Those are good.
I didn't see. See, you even know what I should have got there. I should have called you.
And I'm not that type of guy. Like you actually sent me a picture. I'm not sure if you were there or not at the time, but you're like, guess where I am? And I was like, oh, Buc-ee's. I'm not the type of guy to be like, make sure you get the beaver nuggets and the jerky. Like, so sorry.
Thanks for nothing.
So I thought of you this last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because you abandoned me. And last week I was really looking forward to it because I was like, well, I'm out in Kentucky, but I got my co-host back, Steve. We're going to get back on track. And then Steve's like, oh, I'm traveling and I travel the world and I'm famous and people love me. And he just goes on and on and on. But I did think of you. I read a book / listened to a book on the plane, and it was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And that's one of those books where, like, I think everyone knows the name, and everyone thinks they've read it, but they're not sure. I think I had read it, but then when I was reading, I was like, I don't think I've read this. Have you read Rich Dad Poor Dad?
It's been forever.
Okay,
it's been forever. So you're gonna ask me a question. I'm not gonna remember anything about it. But
Page
Kiyosaki.
62.
Yeah. No, Kiyosaki. And yeah, he's big. He's big in training and mindset, things like that. So
yeah, it's a great book. Highly, highly recommend. Not going to be a waste of time. It was like a 7.5 hour read, something like that. So, but one of the things that he talked about was selling. And I thought of you because he actually even said what he's talking about finance and why it's important and how none of us really understand it and everything else, and how people, even if you have like a regular day job, everyone should kind of have like a side hustle. And he mentioned that everyone should learn sales. And he said, actually, the best way to learn sales is go get a direct sales job or a pyramid scheme job, whatever you guys want to call them. But Steve, you're the expert at this stuff. So I was like, man, like this is perfect for lighting for profits. Why do you think he said that?
Putting people on the spot. I think really it boils down to it's however you wanted to define it, whether it's a side hustle, starting your own business, the barrier to entry into direct sales is often small. So I mean, whether you're, selling a health product or energy or whatever, there's obviously a ton of companies out there. I think it's a pretty low cost, low risk proving ground for learning the sales funnel and process. So I know it sounds silly, but like even how to take rejection, how to get no's. So I mean, I I'm obviously familiar with direct sales. It's a tough business. You know what I mean? There's so many no's, there's so many rejections. People have so many preconceived notions. And I think the lessons you learn from that can be applied to, hence why I'm sitting here, really any other business. I mean, you're a small business owner, putting yourself out there, learning how to take rejection, how to take wins, how to build your business, how to learn about yourself, I think is probably why he would recommend that.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. And it's interesting because I know people who just in terms of interviewing, that right now the job market's totally different than any other time in the world. But I remember like when I was trying to go get a job, I felt like I was super qualified, but no one ever taught me that I actually have to sell myself. And I know family members that have struggled getting jobs in the past that are like, I know they're like the perfect person for whatever they're interviewing for, but they just suck at interviewing, which means they suck at sales. And it's like, man, had you taken a couple sales courses, you'd have actually learned how to close that interview and like get the job, even though it has no direct relevance on like what you're going to be doing on a day to day.
Yeah, no, you see that quite a bit. You see people come in and no matter what it is, it's this concept of you're gonna get out what you put into it. And so many people start businesses and they just don't want to commit. They don't want to put themselves out there, and they quickly learn a business is tough if you're not willing to put yourself out there and ask and leverage contacts and kind of all those different pieces of getting a business off the ground. I think can be learned in a lot of different venues. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be these giant, I got to put $500,000 into a franchise. I think you can have a lot of opportunities of just driving an opportunity with what you've got and learning about yourself and what you can achieve. So yeah, that's an interesting concept.
Yeah, and the reason I bring that up is because there's a lot of people in the home service industries and specifically landscape lighting that are really good. Like they know how to get the work done, but they unfortunately do kind of suck at sales, and a lot of them will admit that too. And it's just like it's one of the things that I've become passionate about because I feel like it's one of my strengths. And I've said this before, like I'm probably never going to win like lighting designer of the year award, but somehow I figured out how to sell millions and millions of dollars of landscape lighting, which is way more than the best guy who is the best designer, right? So it's like trying to figure out how to bring those two together. And like, if I can teach him how to sell and market and price and do all that, then he can bring his message, his worth to more people in the world, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think sometimes people have this idea of they need to be you. And it couldn't be further from the truth. I think the cool part about watching people start their own businesses is it doesn't matter if you're a Harvard educated lawyer or a school teacher. If you start your own business, it's what you put into it. And people really, you're like you said, you're selling yourself. And so when you show up to a house, you don't have to be Ryan Lee. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you do.
Well, outside of that, I think you just have to figure out what your brand is and who you are, and then I think it's and anyone really can have success with it. It's just a matter of, do people trust you? Do you build rapport with people? Can you actually get to the point where you're actually asking for a sell? And if you're able to do that, then you can have success in anything you do.
100%. I agree. And the authenticity is what you're speaking about. And it's like, yeah, don't try to be me because it's just not going to work. You can be authentic and you can be a non-salesperson, but learn some sales techniques that will help you get to that next level.
Yeah, no, we see that all the time where you have, we got a little background music.
Yeah, we got to take a break because we got our guest waiting backstage. All right, guys, well, stick around. We got to do our quick break. You know how it works. And then when we come back, we're going to welcome our guest, Mr. Jason Geiman. So stick around. We'll be right back.
Isn't it nice when the weather cooperates and crews complete jobs on time and on budget? But weather can cause delays. And with paper route sheets, jobs get lost in the shuffle. That's why you need Aspire Crew Control scheduling software, an easy-to-use, flexible, and affordable solution that allows you to shift schedules with a single click. Try Aspire Crew Control for free at aspirecrewcontrol.com.
Hey everybody, this is Hecubus from the Nightcap. I'm just sitting here relaxing within the vault with my friends and a tasty, tasty pint. You should stop by and listen in sometime. I'm here every Monday through Friday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern, live only on Turf's Up Radio. Your industry, your station.
There's more to landscape lighting than just throwing a fixture under a tree. The best display is one that was not only designed well, but also stands the test of time. High-quality fixtures and bulbs are key to long-term success and customer happiness. At Emery Allen, our focus is on creating only the highest performance landscape bulbs in the industry, with long-lasting components that don't degrade or flicker with age. Each bulb's appearance is always consistent throughout your lighting project. We offer a wide range of base types, beam spreads, and color choices that will fit your needs. To learn more, give us a call at 843-480-4473 or email us at info@emeryallen.com.
All right. Welcome back to Lighting for Profits, presented by Emery Allen here on Turf's Up Radio, your industry, your station. And I need like another assistant. Let's welcome Jason Geiman. Whoa, I got to change the screen. What's up, buddy?
What up, guys? How you guys doing today?
Oh, man, if I could figure out how to work the screen, I'm going to be doing great.
Love technology, right?
Oh, my gosh. I need like 4 more assistants.
There you go.
All right. That looks better.
That looks fantastic.
What's up, man? How are you?
Good. I'm good. I forgot that. Well, I forgot. I didn't check the email till like right before I got to come on here to say that I needed to be here 15 minutes early. And then my daughter has had a tryout tonight for soccer, so that's why I'm not in my office today. So that's why I was like, oh, I didn't know I was supposed to be a little bit more than what I am. So, but I'm here, so that's a good thing.
As long as you're here, yeah, I do get a little nervous starting the show when I don't see you, but you're here. And honestly, it's just to make sure the audio and video is good. But you look great, you sound great. So thanks for being here, man.
Awesome. And I understand 100% how you feel when I wasn't there, and I'm sorry about that. But we're here now, and we'll make it happen. So
exactly. Let's just say I might pay you back one day for that. Like Thursday.
Yeah, that's like next Thursday. So please don't do that to me because it does freak me out a little bit.
So I'm excited to have you on, man. I knew when I started Lighting for Profits, it wasn't just going to be the landscape lighting over and over and over. And one of the reasons is because this year specifically, I've really dedicated to looking at different industries and what are they doing that we're not and everything else. And I've obviously been following you on YouTube. I've met you at some events and stuff like that. So I feel like you're like years ahead of where I am. And I think you've got a ton of knowledge that you can share with our industry. And that's kind of what I wanted you to kind of just share with us today. So I guess, how did you get into the home service industry? I know it started with pressure washing, right?
Yeah. So I was a fireman, full-time fireman. And like any full-time fireman, you sit around the firehouse and, eat ice cream and in the recliner. And when you're doing that, you're trying to figure out how to make money on the side, because I worked for a department that, I started out at $28,000 a year. So I wasn't making a lot of money. And so I needed money to be able to be able to grow and do it, whatever I want to do, go on vacation, stuff like that. So I got researching pressure washing, and, it's like anything. You all were kind of talking about, the sales side of it, but, it's really, I even go one step further of even the marketing side of it. When I'm teaching people how to pressure wash, I've taught many 18, 19-year-olds that I've had in my business. I grew my pressure washing business to $1 million in 2017. I sold it in 2018, and you don't get it there by luck. It did take sales. It did take a lot of marketing at the end of the day. It's about how do we get that phone to ring, and how do we make that customer go down that customer journey of making sure, like you were talking earlier about upselling and a lot of that stuff that we forget about, or we talk about systems a lot of times, and like I always say, everybody has a system. Now, is that a good system? Well, probably not. There's probably some flaws that we have, and some things that we don't make sure our technicians know. For instance, a lot of times technicians are technicians for a reason. They're not sales guys. When we went out there and I trained my guys to go, I didn't have them upsell. I was doing the upselling before they ever even got to the house. So that way, a lot of times I know people will be like, well, let's try to upsell. Well, when we're upselling at the house, now we've just jacked up our schedule. Now our schedule's all jacked up. And so those are some things of why I didn't try to upsell. Now, I know I just kind of jumped fast forward of going from how I became, but that's kind of where I started, was in 2012. And in 2017, like I say, we sold it in 18. 2017, we did $1 million. 2018, we sold it. And I not only did pressure washing, I also did Christmas lights, because we're in an area where it gets cold in the wintertime. And so pressure washing is something that we can't do all year long. And so we did a lot of Christmas lights. And so between the pressure washing and Christmas lights, which I really love Christmas lights, that's kind of how I got to where I was to be able to sell my business.
That's awesome. I appreciate you sharing that. And you entered pressure washing like everybody else enters a home service business. It's like, man, what could I do to make more money? That's like the goal. And I guess I'll ask you, like, I don't want to assume, but when you started that business in 2012, was your goal to sell that business in 2018?
No, I would have never thought I would have sold it. I would have never thought I could have got to where I was. So 2012, I started as a like I said, a fireman. 2014 is when I wanted to start hiring employees. So I basically ran it 2 years without any employees. And 2014 is when I started. That's when I was like, what do I got to do to be able to hire employees so that I can keep them on? And that's when we started Christmas lights. So that gave us that, year-round income, so we could keep our employees, so we could keep growing. And even when I did sell it in 2017, I mean, the offer came, and then we just jumped on it and took it. So
I love it, man. It's such a cool story. It's one that I kind of preach to people, is like, build your business to be sellable. You don't have to, like, a lot of people love what they do, which there's no harm in, if you want to dig a trench, your whole life, or, climb a tree, whatever. Like, if that's your thing, that's your thing. I can't tell you what you're passionate about, but when it's sellable, you decided to sell it. But you'll find that your business there's never a perfect business, but it's well oiled, right? And you're actually able to provide a better service to your clients than if it's just you doing everything.
Well, and a lot of times that's where a lot of people struggle, is getting from that owner operator to becoming a business and having employees. That was probably I always tell people the hardest two things to do when you're starting a business, it don't matter what business you're in, is going full time. But the second hardest thing, and I would almost say it's the hardest thing, is getting off the truck. We get that mentality that nobody can do it as good as you can. And especially with the labor the way it is now, you hear a lot of it, nobody wants to work, and so it's hard to be able to do things. But I don't really like speaking those words of nobody wants to work, because when we speak it, usually it's going to come to existence. So, we have to find the right people to put into our business. It doesn't matter if we're doing lighting, if we're doing Christmas lights, pressure washing, landscape lighting, it all comes down to finding the right people. And so when we find the right people in there that can do their job, a technician is the right person to be a technician, can be amazing. They can do 10 times better than you. The book by Dan Sullivan is, who, not how. We got to find the who's in our business, so that way we can allow them to be really good in the business at what they do. And now we can not focus on that. We can focus on other things. Kind of like earlier, you could find that who can take care of how to get all your audio and your computer stuff versus you trying to do that in the middle of the show, right?
Assistance. So I love that. How did you go? When did your mindset shift? Because I feel like most people don't ever have that mindset shift. They just keep working to earn money because that was the original goal. It was like, how do I make money? And so I don't have to work for someone. And like, that's just kind of their constant goal. And they figure that out. So it's not like in their mind, they kind of like already achieved their mission, but they're never really happy because they're just like constantly doing the same thing over and over and over.
And honestly, I almost think it was after I sold the business before my mind shift actually changed. Reading books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, reading those types of different books and educating myself. To start this whole thing, when I started pressure washing, I never read a book unless it had big pictures that took up the whole thing. I never read a book. And so with that said, as I got older, I started listening to podcasts while I was doing in my business. But then once I pretty much sold the business, then I started reading books. And so, when you start reading books that, help educate you and help get that mind shift change, that's kind of when I've taken on to the pressure washing, king of pressure washing, teaching people is, and a lot of my podcasts that I talk about is mindset, or, getting your mind, the mindset. If you have a bad mindset, or if you have a poor mentality mindset, or you got to get out of that, because that's what will hold you back and not allow you to grow more than anything at the end of the day.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, you hit on it. Like, if you go into any of the Facebook groups today, you're going to see people whining and complaining about like how hard it is to hire and this and that and the other. And I'm like, yes, like what the things that you're stating are true. Every business is hiring, but look around. Every business also has employees. Like, there's still people willing to work hard. You just haven't done a good enough job of recruiting, So it is all about your mindset. And people, even when I got my assistant, like, man, I thought you just put out that ad like a couple weeks ago. I'm like, yeah. I mean, I knew I was going to hire someone, so it's like I knew it was going to happen, instead of like, oh, I'm going to pray and hope that it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I was going to ask a quick question because I was interested. Was it was the tipping point where you said, hey, I'm going to go full time? And like, was it a sales number you achieved and then you went and got employees, or did you kind of make that decision to get employees and then you saw the growth in your business?
I got the growth in the business after I started getting employees. Because I actually stayed a full-time firefighter the whole time after I sold it. I just recently quit from the firehouse. So that's one reason why I had to get employees to be able to put in place so that I could keep it running. And, and in the pressure washing world, a lot of it, we did everything online. So like, we didn't have to go in and bid and stuff like that. And so getting automation, so like systems like Responsibid and stuff like that, so that way it takes care of all that kind of stuff. And then once it was about 2015 is when I actually had a business partner at the time. We sat down and we started looking at our numbers and where we were at, and that's when we put the gas on Google Ads, and really just put the gas on Google Ads and really blew that up to where we were able to get to hit that $1 million at that point.
That's awesome. I just saying that's gutsy, right? I think a lot of people in that same spot where you think it's sales will allow me to get employees, when it's often reverse. It's go get employees, and that's where the sales will come from. Scalable solutions. That's interesting.
It's almost 100%. Like most of us don't just have like a rich dad sitting at home like, here's $100,000, go hire some employees. So you have to do what Jason did, and kudos for you for doing that, man.
Yep. You have to take that step of faith and jump out there, take action.
Love it. All right, guys, we're going to take one more quick break, and then we'll be right back with Jason Geiman, King of Pressure Washing. I mean, you're still going by King of Pressure Washing, right?
Yeah.
All right, we'll be right back.
Are you a military family with a spouse on deployment away from home? Did you know that nonprofit Project Evergreen has thousands of volunteers across the country ready to help military families with lawn, landscape, and snow removal services? We call it green care and snow care for troops. If you are a military family and would like to receive this free service, or if you'd like to volunteer to help, visit projectevergreen.org. Project Evergreen, creating a greener, healthier, cooler Earth, 1 yard at a time.
Attention all pros. When you leave a deal with your clients, don't leave money on the table. Join Turfs Up Nation today and partner with pros all across the country who can help you make more money for your services that are related to your project. Landscapers need plumbers, and pool installers need hardscapers, and every combination in between. Turfs Up Nation is free. Your information is secure, and you'll be connected with other pros in the industry who want to do business with you. And not to mention property owners who need help with everything. If you think your clients don't need you and the connections you have, think again. Join turfsupnation.com today and start putting more money in your pocket for services you never knew you could. Just remember to sign up for this free service. Go to turfsupnation.com.
Are you tired of working dawn to dusk 7 days a week and still struggling? Working hard isn't your issue. What you need to focus on is the business side of your business. That's where Profits Unlimited comes in. With our 42 years of experience in the industry, we have faced the challenges you are going through. We can help you with bidding, contracts, marketing, selling, and much more. Check us out at profitsrus.com. That's profitsareus.com when you are ready to earn what you deserve. And don't forget, tune into Profit Time at 10 to 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Remember, profit is not a dirty word.
Welcome back to Lighting for Profits, presented by Emery Allen. We got the air drums going on over here with Steve. Man, you are so good at that. Oh, air guitar too. Look out. All right, Jason, man, so much good information so far. I guess I'm trying to pick your brain here because you did something without meaning to, but you did all these correct steps. I know you want this for other people too, which is why you're a coach, you're a teacher, you're a mentor now. And I'm the same way. It's like I was able to do things, and it wasn't necessarily my plan to sell my business either. So, like, what was it? Like, was it just each step along the way you were just solving a new problem and you decided to keep moving forward, or how did that happen?
Yeah, pretty much. And that's looking back of, because where I do help coach people and I do help people grow, it's like, there's things that I wish I would have done that would have, kept the school of hard knocks down a little bit. Because, like I always say, when you're growing, and if you have a problem if you're by yourself or one or two employees, when you go to get 9 or 10, 20 employees, we were up to about 15 in Christmas light season. That little problem that you had when you were like 1 or 2, when it gets that big, all it does is put a magnifier on that problem, and it just blows it up even more. And it makes sure that you can really see it really well. And so, getting those systems in place, having somebody. So like, for instance, I do help people grow their business. And for instance, I have a guy in Florida, and he, last year he was like, Jason, you can't make no money in pressure washing down here. There's only $99 guys. And I'm like, just keep following the process, keep following the things of marketing and the things I'm telling you. And he actually sent me a Voxer here right before I got on here. He was like, last year I was hoping to hit $1,000 days. He's like, this year I was never thought that I could even hit a $2,000 day. And I've got 4 this week, and so when we are doing that, there is things that we set in place that will help us grow our business. And those are some things that I wish I would have knew. And a lot of times we get scared of having a coach or having somebody or a mentor, and those are some things that can really help you and boost you. And it goes back to almost you become the 5 people you're around. And as I always say on my podcast, I want to be the dumbest people. I want to be the dumbest person that I'm around. You don't want to be the smartest, because the smartest can't go nowhere. So get in a room that you're the dumbest person that you're around. So that way you will elevate yourself. You will become better, and you can learn better, and you will be taught and everything else at the end of the day.
Yeah, I love that. So why should people want to scale their business? I think people are afraid to get a coach because and that means they have to like be held accountable. They have to like do something a different way. And we usually start our own business because we like our own thing. We don't want really input from others. But why should someone decide to scale their business and get off the truck, as you talk about, or get out of the
I,
off the truck?
I think it comes down to that individual person of you know, I always say that, business isn't for everyone. It's just that, for instance, growing and scaling a business isn't for everyone. And I think for the ones that do want to grow and scale and do want to do it, will push through when it gets hard. Because when we start growing and we start getting employees, it gets hard. We have other worries and fears that we got to overcome at the end of the day. Fear can be good and fear can be bad. And a lot of times fear is bad. Fear is bad of, if we're up on a roof and we are scared, that's a good thing. That way we don't fall off a roof. But if we are trying to make a business decision and we have fear in the back of on our shoulder there, them are some things that will keep us from growing a business. Those are the things. And, people don't want to be told what to do, that you're doing something wrong, or people don't, especially like you were saying, you start the business so you don't have somebody telling you. But it's just like, I've been thinking about it quite a bit. My daughter's in soccer and she goes 2 to 3 times a week just to practice for a game on the weekend. Why don't we do more of that for our business world? So that way, when we do go out in the real world, we're ready to knock that ball out of the park.
I love the analogy. I always look at just like the major league, the World Series is going on right now. And those guys do batting practice before every single game. It's like, I'm like, do they really need to do that? Like, they're pretty good. They play every day. It's like, no, that's why they're so excellent. But we expect to have be able to get a grand slam every day with no practice, no coach, no none. It's like, it's not reasonable. That's not going to happen.
Yeah. And the fear is the biggest thing with yourself is the fear and the mindset. Getting out of that mindset of, I don't need anybody, I can do it myself. That's probably the hardest one to do at the end of the day.
Have you found any tips that have helped people kind of crush that? Because that is probably the biggest one.
No. And even, I get people told all the time. I get people tell me all the time of, you can learn anything off the internet. You don't need to pay for nothing. And, like I always say, when you open your wallet, you open your brain. There's a lot of information. You can learn anything between podcasts and that. But if you don't open your wallet, a lot of times you're not going to take the efforts that you need to do to be able to grow your business.
Yeah, I think the saying is free advice is worth every penny you pay for it, which is why I'm going to start charging for this podcast, you guys. We really got to start charging. So send donations to support at RyanLeeCoaching.com. Seasonally, you mentioned you got into pressure washing, and then it gets cold. So you're like, what can we do to keep the guys busy? Then you get into Christmas lights, right? So that makes sense. Does it make sense for then someone like yourself along that journey to then look at landscape lighting as a just like, hey, why not continue this lighting business year round?
Yeah, actually, one of my students that went through my Christmas lights actually went through yours, and he's doing very well. And actually, his crew is the same crew that does both. He has a crew. Ryan does,
That's awesome.
Ryan can't even think of his last name, but Ryan does, the landscape lighting. And then he actually sent 2 of his guys to do my employee training where I could teach them to do Christmas lights. And this was his very first year into doing Christmas lights. And his goal was to do $100,000. And he's already crushed that already, and hasn't even, already crushed $100,000 just in Christmas lights.
Yeah. He's a good case study of what to do, because he's kind of like us. He's like a ready, fire, aim kind of guy. And so that, it does mean risk. It does mean a little bit of fear, but as long as you're using that fear to motivate you to do the right decision, then you're good.
And it's a good thing of kind of diversifying too. You're not putting all your eggs in one basket. So,
yeah, I think it makes sense, because it's so easy. You like if you already, especially if you already have a pressure washing business and you've got a customer base and you got Christmas light customer base, it's pretty easy to flip the switch and be like, hey, you guys, we now offer landscape lighting. So you're
Well,
just
especially Christmas lights. Christmas lights is a different type of customer. You got to be crazy to buy Christmas lights. And you're kind of doing the same thing with landscape lighting. As we're talking people that are spending, average ticket is $2,000, and so that person is a great person that'll do pressure washing. Now, pressure washing, upselling Christmas lights, that's a little, that's a little harsh. Not everybody needs it, but people, if they're willing to spend $2,000-$3,000 on Christmas lights, they're definitely worth spending money on your landscape lighting. And if they're if they're willing to spend $5,000-$6,000, $10,000 for landscape lighting, then they will be willing to spend that on Christmas lights.
100%. I know I've been trying to kind of tap into these other industries and some of these other marketing tools, automation, stuff like that. What are some of the latest trends that you've seen or that you're promoting in the pressure washing community?
Automation would be the responsive bid, obviously, is one that's really big in this one. I'm actually working on one myself right now that I've kind of found and stumbled upon. The help with the sales process, the emailing and the text, and just keeping up with that customer communication. What the number one thing you can do in your business is communicate to your customer. And when you communicate to your customer, that's huge. Another book that I read by Marcus is They Ask You Answer. It's a great book to help answer questions that your customer has, and it helps with the sales process and all of that but the automation wise is probably responsive bid. Another one is trying to get your reviews. So there's Nice Jobs Hotel, stuff like that can help to go after those reviews to make sure that we're getting reviews for our business.
Yeah, no, I love that stuff. And honestly, I mean, almost something that you said earlier is how much you learned after you sold your business. I'm the same way. I did obviously something right while I was running my business, but at the time I thought a lot of it was oh man, why wasn't I better at this? And I thought they were negative things. And now it's just me teaching, here's all the things to avoid. And here's the things that are available to you. I was so busy working in my business sometimes that I didn't even know about these softwares and automations and stuff like that. And it makes sense to go learn what they are, go to these conventions, go to these places to learn and invest in them, because man, they shave so much time off your day. And even if it kind of even allows you to stay small, because you don't necessarily have to hire a huge team because of all the time that it saves you.
Yeah. And, people always say time is money. But I don't know if you listen to Brandon Vaughn much, but he did a thing about time is not money. Money is one of those things that you can get more of. Time, you only got so much time. And when you're out of time, you're done. And so, it is important to be able to scale your business where you're not having to be there all the time. The reason why you start your business is so that you can have time freedom, so you can go do things with your family and be with your family at the end of the day. Yes, business is great and business can be good. Don't get me wrong there, but don't, I'm a family guy and don't spend all the time gone. So when I was in my business, I didn't do this very well myself. And that's kind of why I preach it now is, I was a full-time firefighter and I was working 40 hours in the business. So I was gone anywhere from about 100 hours a week, 56 hours at the firehouse, 40 hours at the shop. And so, just remember at the end of the day why you're running your business for. And a lot of this comes back down to making sure that you're charging enough and not scared of, get out of that poor mindset that I said earlier of, I would never buy that. Well, you're right. I'm not my customer at the end of the day, but them are some things that I really like to focus on in helping the people that I teach pressure washing is what's the reason why you're trying to grow your business.
Love that, man. That's awesome. Is there any advice that you'd give to someone who's considering starting their own business?
take action. Do it. Don't wait till it's perfect. Nothing will ever be perfect. When I first started my YouTube channel a couple years ago, it sucked, and what I thought was good last year, I look back this year, it's still not what I would have thought was perfect. So it don't have to be perfect. Just take action. Go out and do it. And, is it going to be right? Whether you're starting a landscape business or, landscape lighting, pressure washing, at the end of the day, you just got to take action. When you take action, you will get a reaction. And so that's the biggest thing, is taking action.
Solid gold right there. By the way, go check out my YouTube channel if you want to know what a crappy YouTube channel looks like. But I'm taking action. So if you're wrong, I'm going to come find you. All right. What about kind of our last, we're already out of time here. What advice would you give to someone who feels stuck in their business? They've started it, but they do feel stuck. And like, man, that would be kind of cool to get to that point where someone came and offered him an offer for his business, or to be able to get to hire a general manager or whatever it is. Like, any advice you'd give them that feels stuck?
Invest in yourself. A lot of times when we get stuck, it's because we're doing the same thing over and over and over, and we don't ever get out of that rut. And when you invest in yourself, you will see different things coming. Whether you take a class, reading books, go to a convention. When you invest in yourself and you learn something, you can take, I met you, or well, you was there and I was there. We just didn't get to see each other at the GIE expo. But when you're walking around, there might be just one thing that you could put in your business that can help you start working your business and start moving it toward the positive side.
Great advice, man. Well, thanks so much for being here, man. I know you're busy. I know you're doing your thing, trying to be Dad of the Year again and all that. So thanks for taking the time to be here, and thanks for sharing all your wisdom, man.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys.
Good luck on the soccer tryout.
Yeah, no kidding.
All right, guys, stick around, and we're going to finish up with my lighting tip of the week, which happens to be, Jason hinted on a couple of the things we're going to talk about. So stick around. We'll be right back.
Hey, everybody, it's Brooke Ford, host of The Green Veteran here on Turfs Up Radio. Be sure to check me out every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern. You're going to hear some great one-on-one interviews with green industry professionals. We're going to talk about best business practices, highlight innovative products, and also provide some insight into some new emerging technologies in the field. That's The Green Veteran, airing each Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. And remember, Turfs Up Radio, your industry, your station.
Hey, this is Jeff Hester, senior contributor and co-host of the Weekend Review here on Turfs Up Radio. Can't make it to major green industry events, but want to stay connected? Don't worry, we have you covered. Be sure to download the Turfs Up Radio app or visit our website. We'll bring you the live coverage you need to keep you up to date with everything that happens in our industry. And to find out where we'll be next, simply visit greenindustryevents.com. That's greenindustryevents.com. And always remember, Turfs Up Radio, your industry, your station.
Yeah. Saturdays, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. The Weekend Review.
The Weekend Review. The Weekend Review.
Join King Darren and all of your favorite Turfs Up Radio hosts, including Hecubus, Eric, the Turf Teacher Jones, Brian.
My name is not Brian.
Ryan Lee, Wayne the Prophet Bowles,
One opportunity.
his son Daniel, Brooke Ford, the Green Veteran,
Giddy up,
and many more. Join us live as we unpack the week and share what you may have missed live on Turfs Up Radio. That's the Weekend Review, Saturdays, 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern, right here on Turfs Up Radio, your industry, your station.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right. Welcome back to Lighting for Profits, presented by Emery Allen. Make sure you go to emeryallen.com and check out their whole selection. Got to hang out with Tom Garber at the GIE a couple weeks ago. He's a nice dude. He'll give out his cell phone number. I won't even give out my cell number to just anybody. But I would give it to you, Jason. I don't know if you have it, but had Jason Geiman just on, you guys, and that was awesome. It's cool because Jason shared his experience of like, hey, he was a fireman, and up until then hadn't even read any books on business or anything like that. And fast forward just like short 5-6 years, he's selling his business. He's now like teaching people how to start their own business, how to make money. And he's giving basically time to people. He's giving freedom to people, which is like so awesome. And it's one of the reasons I didn't get to ask him this, but it's one of the reasons why I decided to do this is because it's such a cool feeling being able to help someone prevent the same mistake that you did. And it's like when you can share one, like to me, it's just like one like obvious thing now because I screwed up so many times. But to them, it's a new thing because it was a new thing to me back then. I give them one piece of advice that shaves off sometimes like 5 years off of the learning curve. That is like the most rewarding thing ever. It is so awesome. And I'm sure that that's one of the reasons why Jason is doing what he's doing. I wanted to kind of ask him like why he didn't start another, pressure washing or Christmas light business and instead went into coaching. But I have a feeling that he and I are a lot alike, and it's such a rewarding feeling. And we're basically able to reach back into time and grab ourselves and be like, "Don't do this, you idiot," And it's so cool to have that experience with others. So, really appreciate him being on here. And he again, go check him out. You can go to YouTube or Google King of Pressure Washing or Christmas Lights Help, and you're going to find him. He's got his. He was saying his YouTube videos, or at least channel, started out slow. I don't know. I know he's got a pretty big channel now and a lot of good videos. I'll even go watch them. I know it has nothing to do with landscape lighting, but I'll go watch the videos. He has guests on his podcast and stuff like that too. So go check him out because, honestly, every time they say the word pressure washing, you could just insert landscape lighting and you're going to learn a lot. So I want to end the show with my lighting tip of the week. And not surprising, we're going to talk about pricing. Okay. And I'm going to give you guys I came up with 5. Wow, I didn't realize that. Came up with 5 reasons why you should charge a premium. And I know that most people think it's like evil when I talk about, raising your price and charging more and everything else. Like a lot of people think that like you're taking advantage of people or whatever. Well, it's just not true. Like it's just how the world works. Like people will pay whatever they feel is worth the value, right? And so I want to give you guys 5 reasons to close out the show why you should be charging a premium. Number 1, separate from my whole thing about like always charge more and raise your prices and stuff like that. This year, the last 2 years has been insane. You have to charge a premium. You have to raise your prices. Your prices are going up. Your expenses are going up every single day. Cost of labor, cost of materials, all these things. So even if you don't want to listen to me, you have to, okay? You have to raise your price. You really have no choice. Otherwise, it is going to be a quick race to the bottom, and you're not going to be able to be around very long just because of the economy itself, okay? Your expenses are going up, so you have to raise your price just to even break even of what it was a year or 2 ago, okay? So number 1 is the obvious one. Why you should charge a premium. You have to. Like, there's no choice. Number 2, you are being selfish. You're being selfish by not raising your prices. Okay, let me explain what I mean by that. If you really are the best in your area, and I know a lot of us pride ourselves on like, I'm the best designer, I'm the best installer, like I know how to do, like I see other people cutting corners and I wouldn't do that. And I'm going to take the time to do it right. And I believe you, right? But if you really think you are the best in your area and you're doing a disservice to those who don't know about you, right? And so if you stay small and you just keep charging your, normal rate, you're never going to be able to afford to pump that money into Google ads like Jason was talking about. You're never going to be able to afford to hire the who, right? You're never going to be able to afford to be able to replace yourself, right? So people deserve to know about you. So stop being selfish. Like you're actually being greedy by not raising your price because you are restricting who you are available to. And I know a lot of you guys out there are really good designers, really good installers, really run a good company, are good people. Like you're so good, right? But you're not charging enough, which means you can't afford to hire the who, which means you can't afford to advertise. And that means you're selfish. I'm sorry, but stop being selfish. Okay. Yes, Rick Carmen, I'm talking to you, brother. Number 3, job satisfaction. Job satisfaction. So when someone pays you what you're worth, you are actually happy to take your time and do the job right. Okay. And think about this. When someone shorts you, and I know you guys have had this experience. If you've been a business owner, you've done this. You've decided, you know what? I kind of need the work. I'm just gonna give them a deal. Right. And so you take that job. We've all done this. I've done this countless times. And then they hire you. You tend to look for the shortcuts. Am I right? When they short you, you look for the shortcut. And it doesn't mean that you're a liar or whatever, but it does mean that you're like, well, maybe I wonder if I could find cheaper materials. I didn't tell them exactly what connections I was using. I didn't tell them exactly what pathlight I was going to use. Maybe I'm going to spend less time. I'm going to try to get this done in 4 hours instead of 6 hours. Maybe I'm going to send my worst installer, You're going to look for a way to still make money and profit out of that job. And so you really want to get complete 100% job satisfaction. So you want to maintain your prices, charge that premium. And when you do, you're happy to show up to work. You're happy to take care of that client, bend over backwards, make sure everything's done right because you charge them accordingly. So you can afford to buy quality materials. You can afford to take your time, do a final walkthrough, another final walkthrough, another final walkthrough. Make sure that job is perfect and looks even better than when you showed up. Okay. And I'm talking like, you're in the landscape beds, fluff the mulch, like really, sweep off, water off the walkways. Yeah, sure. It was dirty when you got there, but that doesn't mean it can't be spectacular when you leave. Right. So, and if you're not charging enough, you're not going to be thinking of those things. You're just going to be thinking like, I got to get out of here. I got to get to the next job. Right. But when you're charging enough, you can afford to actually deliver that red carpet, white glove experience to your clients. So get that job satisfaction, charge a premium. Number 4, you need to make enough money to take care of your client. This is a little bit different than what I was talking about. In landscape lighting, I like to offer a 1 and a 2 year labor warranty. So it's funny because I've actually got a client that fairly new in the last few months started working with me. And I told him, here's what you need to charge. And he's like, I'm not going to charge that much because I don't need to. I don't have the overhead yet. I'm just going to give a deal. And I told him, no, you don't want to do that. Don't do that. And so we talked about the reasons why, but then I guess he forgot, whatever, did his own thing. And then this was like a few weeks ago. He sent me a Voxer message and he's like, man, I don't know what to do. This client wants me to come back. And it's like, how many times can we go back? And I'm like, dude, you go back unlimited. Like you will take care of that client because like you charge them. Now he didn't charge them enough. So he doesn't see like, it doesn't make sense. Like financially, he's like, man, if we go back one more time, we're going to lose money. It's like, that's the point, right? So, but if you charge enough, you can afford to he probably did something like that. Maybe the installers weren't trained good enough or whatever. So he can fix that, but still you're going to have issues that come up and you want to be able to afford to go back and take care of that client, service them without having to nickel and dime them or even make them feel like they're putting you out of your way. I mean, you want to be able to answer that phone and, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, and get that client taken care of because we all know the power of referrals, the power of repeat business. And that's where the money is made in any service business, right? Because you're going to pay, customer acquisition costs. You might pay $300-$400 just to get a client, but that number goes way down when you start to get a referral that didn't cost you anything, right? The only thing it cost you is your time and commitment. And that's because you charged enough to be able to do that. And then number five, we talked about Jason doing this. He's helping people get freedom. Okay. The fifth and final reason why you should charge a premium is because you want freedom. Okay. You guys can argue with yourselves all you want on this one, but don't tell me you don't like freedom. Like we all like freedom. I'm sorry. It's awesome. Okay. And when you finally get the confidence to price where you need to be, you'll also have the ability to hire out your replacement and get back some of that well-deserved time. Time is the greatest asset. You're never going to you can't figure out how to create more time, right? You can always figure out a way to make more money, but you can't figure out a way to make more time unless you replace yourself. Then you have a little bit more control of your time. You never control all of it, but you have more control over it. So that is the other reason, the fifth and final reasons why you should be charging a premium. So hope those tips were helpful for you guys. for the lighting tip of the week. Make sure you're charging a premium. As you know, I'm always a big fan of that. But that's our show. It goes by quick, guys. I want to thank Jason Geiman, the king of pressure washing. Also, Christmas Lights Help. Thanks for being on here. Thank you, Emery Allen, for your partnership. Thank you guys for being part of our show here on Turfs Up Radio. And just remind you guys to keep working on your business every single week, every single day, every single week, and every single month. And you guys have a good week. We'll talk to you later and have a nice one.